Hello and welcome to the iCage. Many thanks for those of you who are joining us from Kenya and all over the globe. This is a program that brings you exclusive trendy topics that range from education, health, arts and culture and politics. My name is Edith Mbenesi, and before we delve any deeper into today's agendas, let's first have the day's lineup. Caught in the act, US officials indicate hackers working as spies for the Chinese agency. The two suspects are alleged to be working with the Ministry of Security in their state. It is said that they are hacking into the US Navy and other companies that deal in technology and aviation. The UK now points blame fingers against Chinese government over cyber crimes. War anti-migrants in Denmark as Danish parliament approves of plans of sending unwanted migrants to Virus Island. The parliament is set to vote on a measure that will see migrants sentenced to deportation but unable to return home. However, UN has criticized the plan. Lastly, the head of state in Sri Lanka collides with the Supreme Court over illegal grounds. President Sirisena wants to sack all 225 members of parliament. The much anticipated ruling came after 7 weeks of prolonged political crisis, which began in late October. Now, welcome back. Now, today's episode focuses on matters politics, where Sri Lanka's president finds himself at loggerhead with the Supreme Court over a decision he made of firing all 225 members of parliament. Now, this is an illegal case according to their constitution. But now locally, our president Uhuru Kenyatta is spearheading the fight against corruption, where he has called out all his peers and warning them that he is willing to lose them to corruption. The question is, how legit, how genuine rather, is this a statement? I see comments coming in from Andrew Kamoche on Twitter, who opines that I'm 100% in support of the president's move against corruption and trust his integrity. Finally, there's action being taken. Well, many thanks Andrew Kamoche for that comment. And moving on, we are going to have a comprehensive feature that is going to unravel the discussions of today by Faith Kaulu. Take a look.
Just like every home has its own thrones, so does this extend further to a country. In Kenya, corruption has dwelled amongst us for the longest time possible. You may dub it since time immemorial. Its claws have robbed many a lot, while the masterminds remained untouched. But then came the saving grace, President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Here at home, I remain committed to strengthening governance institutions, entrenching the rule of law, and stamping out corruption. Through the efforts of our investigative agencies and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, individuals who may have thought they were untouchable are now facing the full force of the law.
Promising transparency and a corrupt-free state, his journey started earlier January this year, where the former CEO of Kenyatta Hospital was arraigned in court over negligence while in office. Soon after, senior Supreme Court Judge Philomena Mwilu was forced to step aside from office with allegations of misuse of office. Her case is still pending in court, awaiting closure at the expense of hungry citizens who want justice, fairness, and integrity.
I think that this is playing with our minds, our psychology, and he's trying to put a legacy that he hasn't even kept forward, because if he has lost a lot of friends, then why is he having friends who are corrupt?
This is just a summary, for the list is endless. This kind of doubt has torn Kenyans, with some of the citizens seeming convinced that the president's motive against corruption is genuine.
I think it's a genuine move, given that in the past we've seen very executive and senior people in the government being sacked by the president. And therefore, this shows the seriousness of this matter. And remember, we've had serious cases being committed by some of these people, be it ministers, MPs, political leaders, that is. And therefore, also remember that he sacked some of the ministers in his previous government. And therefore, this shows that it's a serious move that is geared towards finishing corruption in Kenya.
The truth is, Kenyans are in a state of absurdness where we move in circles seeking answers, whilst the answers are in multiple choices. Reporting for the iCage, my name is Faith Kaulu.
Well, thank you very much, Faith Kaulu, for that detailed report. Indeed, answers are in multiples, and she is joining us live from our studios in the CBD. Faith Kaulu, what is your take on the statement that the president is losing most of his friends due to corruption?
Well, thank you so much, Edith Mbenesi. Well, there's a lot that can be said about the government and its integrity. But first of all, let me put it out there that this is a matter of concern and very questionable, especially since the government does not deal with this matter very openly. Yes, I know stories make headlines of how much money has been embezzled and how many people are being prosecuted because of these same actions. But most Kenyans feel like there is no closure. Back to you, Edith Mbenesi.
Thank you very much, Faith Kaulu. And now turning on to more social media updates. I see Ahmed Soni on Facebook who opines that, honestly, I support Laura when she says that the presidency's integrity is to be questioned. Birds of the same feathers flock together. There is no evidence that his friends are lost. They are just deep in corruption, untouched. Brutally laid out by Mercy Ahmed. Thank you very much for your comment. Glad you could join us at the climax of it all. Well, we're taking this conversation a notch higher as I am joined by several guests on set. I am joined by Eric Spira, an advocate of social rights. I'm also joined by Israel Lugidiru, the CEO of Politics Avenue. And finally, the elected member of Parliament, Kitui Central Constituency, Honorable Mulu Makali. Gentlemen, welcome on set. Well, I begin with you, Eric Spira. You are a spirited social rights advocate. Do you think the president is being honest with his statement saying that he's lost his peers into corruption?
The irony in that statement is it is his friends who are actually orchestrating the corruption based on what he has actually said. He has lost his friends due to corruption. Meaning, it doesn't make sense that you lose your friends. What is coming out is that you have betrayed your friends because while they were doing this thing, due to the fact that they were your friends, there's a high possibility that he was aware of it.
Now, according to you, do you think the president is making enough effort to fight out corruption in the country?
Corruption in Kenya has been a vice that has taken its toll to the roots. And when Uhuru Kenyatta came, he promised us that he will fight corruption, root coming out. Well, so far, based on his reign, him and Ruto, we've experienced one of the worst scandals in history. So I cannot support the fact that he has managed to do it. Ironically, as much as during the interview he said that, the interview with the BBC just a while back, he said that his legacy is to be recalled or remembered being the fighter of corruption. I think it is the reverse because we have experienced the worst corruption. We hope that that which he promised during his speech, he will see through moving forward.
Thank you very much, Eric Spira. Now we move on to Israel Lugidiru, our political analyst. Now, in your own opinion, who do you think the president refers to as his peers?
He refers to very many people in the ministries. We've seen very many cabinet secretaries who the president once trusted and gave them cabinet secretary positions, but then after some time we've seen them involved in corruption cases. And it's not only in the second term of his presidency, but this also includes the people who are in those dockets in the first term of his presidency. And I think that he refers to very many people, and not only the CSs, but also the friends who he's working with closely.
And with that said, why do you think there's so much doubt, even after the president emphasizes on fighting corruption?
You see, Kenyans want to see results, and they're not seeing the result that is expected. Every week we hear money being stolen, we hear money being lost, we see people taken to court and then they're released on bail after a very short span of time or on a very low bail, and I think with things and with cases like those, then Kenyans have doubt and they actually lose faith in the presidency, but I trust that the presidency is doing everything it can to fight corruption, though I still believe that it can do more to fight this vial called corruption.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lugidiru. Now we are joined by our finalist, Honorable Mulu Makali. Now, according to you, why do you think there's sincerity in the president's sentiments where he says that he is losing most of his friends due to corruption?
I think the issue of corruption in this country has been a serious issue. Actually, it's a serious of concern to Kenyans. And what has happened is corruption is not new in this country. It has been there for many, many years. And that's why we even set up what we used to call the Kenyan Corruption Commission, which is currently called the Ethics and Corruption Commission. But what has happened, I think this particular year after we went through our elections, the last elections, 2018, what has happened is that there has been, as you are saying, a lot of corruption cases which have been reported. What I don't know whether the journalists have taken more time to do investigation so that improves reporting, or it's only that has happened. But I'm imagining now, listening to the figures being mentioned, we are having challenges. It's a big challenge. And as you said, the Kenyatta National Hospital issue, the Kenya pipeline issue, the Kenya hospital issue. But generally, even before this was reported, you remember the president gave a commitment that this year, this second term, things are not going to be the same. And I think what the president is doing is trying to also get corruption as one of the issues to do with this legacy, so that when we remember him, because he's now going to no longer be the president from 2022, so that when we remember him, then people can always say it is President Uhuru who actually, even if not really clearing corruption, who reduced it to very low levels. So to me, I think when I look at him, it's just not that he is pretending. I think he means it. And as Kenyans, what we need to do is to support him. But what we need to note is that corruption fights back. And it's not going to be easy to clear it just in a day or two. So even as he's working very hard to reduce corruption or clear it in this country, I can tell you he's going to face a lot of resistance.
And lastly, Honorable Makali, there is a bill, a 2012 Leadership and Integrity, that was passed as law that is believed to be favoring those seeking power. Why is integrity rather being frustrated at the expense of corruption?
This is chapter 6 of the new constitution. It talks about leadership and what is expected of a leader. And you know, the legislative arm of this government is actually all about leadership. These are the leaders of this nation, the politicians, both at the national level and the county level. And what had happened is the law generally was to say that if you are to be elected as a leader in this country, you have to meet some requirements, what I call the thresholds, in terms of values, in terms of integrity issues, in terms of accountability issues. And because most leaders in this country are also Kenyans, you realize there are those who aspire to be leaders in this country, and they knew their history. They knew their history, that they might not really, if this law was strictly adhered to, they might not be able to be in a position to then compete for leadership positions. And I think that's why you see over time there's been an attempt to frustrate some of these issues which are related to legislating on integrity and ethics, so that, for example, if you are mentioned to be involved in corruption, we are saying, instead of Kenyans waiting for you to be taken through the court process, which takes a long time, why don't we do like other countries out there, where by just a mere fact that you have been mentioned, then you step aside. The other thing which is very critical, and which I think Kenyans must believe in, and we must push for it, is what we call lifestyle audit, so that every Kenyan should be able to, after a year or 2 or 3 years, to be audited and seen, is the life you are living in line with your income?
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Mulu Makali. That marks the end of this segment. Thank you very much, Eric Spira, as well as Israel Lugedero. Now, moving on, I see more social media comments coming in, where I see Ken Kimani opining that I agree with Honorable Makali's Mulu's sentiments, where he puts emphasis on a lifestyle audit. That right there is the first step to a journey of fighting corruption, which is miles away. Thank you very much, Ken Kimani, for sharing with us. Welcome to our last segment, the Eye Master. Well, corruption is a mock exam that needs to be tackled with a lot of thought in it. And if the president is willing to curb this menace in the ways he knows best, rather, we should trust his leadership because he knows best. That marks the end of this segment, and you can continue this conversation on our Twitter handle at Mbenesi1 and on Facebook at Edith Mbenesi. Thank you for staying tuned on the iCage. Until next time, my name is Edith Mbenesi. God bless you.